So welcome. I'm Jeff Richardson, Director of Product Marketing here at Kochava. This is part 3 of our MMM 101 mini webinar series. In part 1, we talked about what is marketing mix modeling. In part 2, we covered how to effectively use marketing mix modeling. And now here in part 3, we are going to cover how to choose the right MMM solution, because there's some different options on the market, and we want to provide some guidance on that front. If you've missed parts 1 and part 2, or watched one or the other, those will be provided on demand in the thank you email after this webinar. So be sure to check those out. There's some great foundational concepts that you can cover and take some good notes from, hopefully. So with that, we love your questions. So please feel free to submit those in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll be monitoring both, and we'll try to get to some of those questions throughout the discussion and at the end. This has been our most successful webinar series ever. So this topic of MMM is clearly on the minds of many, and we're excited to round out this 3-part series, but we will certainly be doing more in the future. So with that, I want to welcome back Gary Dinks. He's again the founder of Machine Advertising, now the GM of Always On Incremental Measurement here at Kochava, which is a next-gen MMM platform. So Gary, welcome back.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to see everyone joining again.
And let's jump in. So we're going to talk about how to choose the right marketing mix modeling solution. We're going to talk about really 3 different categories of the types of solutions that are on the market, some key considerations to include as you're vetting the different solutions available, and then also some pitfalls to avoid as well, to make sure that you think about MMM in the right way and you find the solution that'll best fit your needs and capabilities, whether those are in-house or out-of-house. So Gary, do you want to take us in to that first part, and let's talk about the 3 categories of MMM solutions that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick off. So you can categorize MMM solutions into 3 different types at a high level. Actually, you can categorize them into 2 different types, which I'll get into in a moment. But the first one is the one that's been around for decades, since the 60s and 70s, which is a consultative solution. So sort of an agency solution, really, I suppose, where you're hiring third parties. It's a manual approach. It's a point-in-time project. So it's from a set date. And this solution can be expensive because you're involving skilled resource from a third party. And then lastly, the output of this sort of consultative approach is what we call static results. So you're left with the insights for the next few months or year, whatever it is, but they do not change. So you're left with essentially a PDF, which gives you your insights on your MMM project. The second approach is very similar. It's an in-house solution. So you can use solutions like Meta's Robin. You could build your own models as well. A lot of people do use Meta's Robin. It's a good model. Again, it's point-in-time tests. It does require data scientists, so you need to have data scientists as part of your team, part of your resource in-house, and again you're left with static results. Depending on how much you want to spend on the project in terms of costs and resources, you can get those results updated probably at best once a month, but from our experience in the market, even the big players in the market, the big advertisers which use traditional MMM, tend to do it once a quarter at the very most. And then the third solution is a SaaS solution, which is what we've built with our product AIM. A SaaS solution should auto-update the models with today's data. Okay, so with real-time data. It should also display actionable data, which we'll get onto a bit later on, explain what that is and how it's different to the other solutions here. And it does require low resources. So you don't need any technical resource. You don't effectively need any data science resource or so. It's a marketeer's tool. It's designed specifically for marketeers. So it's a lot more cost effective than the other two solutions. All three of these can be put into two categories. And the first category is traditional MMM solutions. So the sort of manual approach, which requires a lot of resources and they both have similar characteristics to each other. And then next generation MMM, which is a SaaS solution, which is automatically updated with real-time data.
Now, Gary, just thinking about the left two there in traditional MMM, would you say like the actionability off of that might often be more at a C-suite level in terms of allocation of budgets annually for different channels or brand versus performance? Is that how those have traditionally been used?
Yeah, exactly. So the output is still very insightful insights and data into your marketing mix. And that would be very much, like you say, sort of a sort of C-suite level, so top down. Maybe the CFO is quite common for CFO to look at these types of reports. Certainly the CMO, and anyone that has a stake in sort of budget allocation for the next quarter or really probably for the next year, they'll be looking at the insights from their MMM project to inform their decisions for the next year, half year, or however frequently they do it.
Okay, and then the SaaS would be, if you're talking about always on kind of updating models, that could be more UA manager level, UA director level, where it can be applied and put into action on a more regular basis. Yeah,
exactly. It's much more. It can be a much more sort of day-to-day operational tool. So that the UA team, performance marketing team, digital marketing team can use that for their strategies daily, weekly, monthly, however they see fit. Okay, so they're the three different types of MMM solutions. One of the the agenda points here is what to consider. What are the key considerations and features when selecting an MMM tool? So the first one is, how often does the system update? So the frequency of the system updates is a crucial distinction between traditional MMM and next generation methods. So the traditional approach is, whether it's consultative or in-house, typically at best they would offer monthly reports, which are static, and these can be resource intensive as well. So in contrast to the advancements in technology that we have with the next generation MMM tools like AIM, which can update itself and update its models in real time. And then typically you would have that data sort of published daily or weekly, depending on the system that you're looking at. So certainly for this audience that we're talking to today and the audience that we talk to regularly, knowing how this is, or how regularly the system updates, is a critical factor. So quite often we hear from the market, we've tested MMM, but it's too slow for the environment for which we work in, digital marketing effectively. So they've tested it, and it can't be used in that environment. Drawing on an analogy, which is the purpose of that image that has come up there, is that traditional MMM is akin to navigating a route with a paper map. So if you're going from let's say New York to Chicago, in the olden days, you would get out a map, a paper map, and you would put a pin in it all the way to Chicago, and you'd follow that line. So it's giving you static data, which is based off historical data as well. Now, if anything happens en route, like a traffic jam or roadworks or whatever it may be, train delay, whatever transport you're taking. You don't know about what's going on in that. You just have to follow the route which was planned on the paper map, as opposed to the sort of the GPS systems which we all now have on our phones, which is akin to a next generation MMM tool. It's constantly updating with and correcting the course for any adjustments that need to be corrected. So if there's a traffic jam, it makes a slight correction to the course that you're taking. It keeps you moving in the right direction so that you can get to the destination in the most efficient time possible. So it's a good way to look at it.
I like that analogy. I was thinking about the old days before the navigation systems got real good, right? And you had Garmin's for a while, and you got mobile phones. But I used to use MapQuest and search up before I left, and maybe print off the instructions, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Brings back memories.
Yeah. So that's a good way to look at it. The traditional methods are going to give you that sort of paper map. The next generation is going to give you the GPS to get you where you need to go. So the next consideration is the system that you're evaluating user-friendly, and does it provide actionable insights? So probably one of the most common feedback that we get from clients that have tried MMM or even incremental testing as well is that, especially with MMM, is that the feedback that they get from those projects, even though it's insightful, it can't be actioned. Quite often, the data is quite extreme. So and I'm not saying this is typical, but we have heard clients complain, oh yeah, we've used MMM and it told us to stop spending on Google by 90%. Now, in reality, we know that businesses aren't going to be able to do that for all sorts of reasons. So the system that you're evaluating needs to fit in with the environment to which you work in. Digital marketing. The old systems don't. So they're used to TV and offline media and online media as well, of course. But the new next generation systems will present data in a fashion which is hopefully familiar to you. It will give you actionable insights which can actually be executed. And it's a bit like that GPS system, going back to that analogy again, which is it will make small incremental changes to keep you on track in the right direction. And that's the difference between sort of a traditional system and a next generation system. The other thing is that quite often we hear that the output is too confusing. You have to be a data scientist to really understand the output of traditional MMM. Next generation tools should be presenting you with data which you can understand. It should be you shouldn't really need a data scientist to interpret the tool. Of course, you should get some support from the service provider who can interpret things for you, but it should be a fairly mild learning curve for anyone looking at these systems.
When we talk about user-friendly too, I assume it also could encompass that notion of very drastic recommendations, right? I think we talked about that previously in part 2, that where a certain channel partner, it might say, oh well, this is not that incremental, and so it might look like it's saying cut your spend by 80%, which is not what you would want to do. So sometimes I know there's platforms out there that have made recommendations which are almost draconian, if you will. And that can be confusing and misdirectional. So
yeah, exactly. With the new tools, the new MMM tools, they should know the nuances of digital advertising, what's realistic for business to be able to change and what isn't, the frequency of the changes that can happen, the caps of those changes, the maximums, the minimums, all of those things should be accounted for in the recommendations that come out of those systems.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to the third one now, which is it adaptable to various media types and your workflow as well? So both categories here, traditional and next generation MMM, should be inherently be adaptable to a range of media types. It's the benefit of MMM as opposed to touch attribution. So it can encompass both offline and online. It can account for your promotions, so it will be able to give you the contribution, the influence that your offline has had, your promotions, anything that you're running with partners. All of that should be measurable with a good MMM tool stroke model. And it is one of the benefits of MMM, which is why it's been used for so long. Now, the caveat to that is that data available? So the model isn't going to be able to just pick up on something that's happened in the market. So if you're running an out-of-home campaign, for example, billboard campaign, is the data available to inject a signal into the model so that the model understands, apart from all of the digital media types that you're running, the model also understands that actually there was an out-of-home campaign, and it should be able to pick up on the contribution that out-of-home campaign had on your sales or whatever KPIs that you're measuring. The second part here is also very important. Does it fit into your workflow? Now, a good MMM tool should really seamlessly integrate into your existing workflow and cause minimal disruption, because MMM isn't a replacement for what you're already doing. It just enriches your decision-making process. So it kind of, sits on top of your marketing stack, whatever you're using at the moment. So with that said, and unless there's a need for change within the sort of workflow, it should just fit on top and enrich your sort of decision making around sort of budget allocation and future investments.
Yeah. Well, and if folks have questions on what that data input looks like for an offline out of home, right, or a linear TV ad spot box, things of those natures, I know we have a data inputs guide for what at least AIM uses factor in those channels. But no, it's a great point. Well, I know we got down to almost 2 minutes here, Gary. Do we want to jump to? I know we want to touch on some pitfalls, and maybe that's already coming up next.
Yeah, sure. So there are a few different pitfalls, but probably the most the biggest pitfall is to manage expectations. So recognize that MMM is not just a tool, but it's a new skill that you should be honing in on and sort of skinning up on. So it can be a valuable asset for your business and also for your sort of personal development, I suppose. The most common pitfall around all of the sort of expectations is that MMM is not a magic wand. It's not going to solve all of the industry problems, overnight. It will definitely solve some of the problems, but probably the second pitfall to mention here is the expectation around the timeline as well. So, as I say, MMM will give you immediate feedback once your models are built and the data's flowing in, which normally should take no more than a few weeks. You will start to get immediate feedback. However, you do have to give MMM some time to build robust models that you personally or the company is personally has high confidence in. Okay, so there is a process to go through with MMM, or when you're on board in MMM, and it's a lot of it's based around sort of confidence building. Is the model that I'm being presented, or does the model that I'm being presented understand my business? Is it making accurate future predictions? And if it is, then you can start to then action some of the recommendations that it's making for you. So a couple of things really is just to manage expectations around MMM being a magic wand. It's not going to solve all of the industry problems. It's going to enrich your decision-making process. And then 2, the time it takes. Just to give some sort of ballpark on that. Typically, when we onboard clients, clients start to see results, improved results, after about sort of 2 to 3 months. Okay.
That's helpful. That's helpful to know. Well, I know we're just a minute over, and but as we think about wrapping up this 3-part series, whether you fall into the kind of DIY bucket, the kind of traditional MMM, the consultative approach, or you're looking for SaaS solutions, we'd like to kind of have a conversation with you wherever you sit, just understand the challenges that you're facing and how we or AIM might help overcome those. So Gary, if anybody did want to get in touch, can you quickly rip through how they can do that?
Yeah, sure. So we've got some details up on the screen here. The easiest way is to go to the aimplatform.io website. There's some new content on there. So that'll be updated all the time. So it will sort of educate. Hopefully it's useful for people to go on there and read and educate themselves. You can book a meeting on that website, and within that meeting we can deep dive into AIM, look at your specific user case, and then also discuss around sort of potential results and so on, and then discuss with you the 3-month trial program that we run for new clients.
Yeah. Well, Gary, thanks. I guess this time I don't get to say I'll see you for the next part, but we will be doing some more webinars on MMM in the future, and even a part 201. We've had a lot of advanced questions with more technical concepts, and I know this was only 20-minute short webinar, so we couldn't unpack some of that meatier detail, but we will be back with more. Check out aimplatform.io, and if you have questions that you want to submit in follow-up, you can also submit those through that site as well, or email info@aimplatform.io. So thank you everyone for being part of the series, and we'll hope to see you again. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
Bye.